Over the past few days, my family and I have been traveling through the country of Scotland. And Scottish people, you all seriously have one of the most amazing countries in the world. I have thoroughly loved this place. Your weather is absolutely crazy, but the scenery is gorgeous. Everywhere you turn, it looks like something printed on a postcard. So for example, like right here, I'm next to this old stone railroad bridge. Just absolutely gorgeous country. And we're staying in a town called Killen. And as we were coming in the other day, well, I noticed that there's a little bit of history around here that I was honestly unaware of, and saw that we were very, very close to the grave of a legendary Scotsman, a guy by the name of Rob Roy. So as I mentioned, we're going to be hitting a few sites associated with the legendary Scottish folk hero Rob Roy today. And for people who are outside of Scotland, they may not know who Rob Roy is, or maybe you saw the movie in 1995 starring Liam Neeson, which has elements of truth and also takes quite a few artistic liberties, like many Hollywood productions. But Rob Roy was born in 1671. At the age of 18, participated in the Jacobite Rebellion. Went on to be a businessman, a cattleman, cattle rustler, and later a fugitive from justice here in Scotland. So we're going to hit a few sites around this area associated with Rob Roy. I do need to mention, like, I'm not a Scottish historian, so this isn't going to be a full-on documentary. As a matter of fact, most of the stuff that I do is not documentaries, it's just showing cool historic places. But anyway, we're going to come down off of this mountain and head off to the next site. All right, we've moved down the road just a little bit, and I thought this would be a good stop to talk about Rob Roy, the cattleman. Now, these cattle here that look like some sort of angst-ridden emo kid with their shaggy hair, these are Highland cattle. Grew up on a cattle farm, and I remember when I was younger, I was really fascinated by these cattle, and I wanted my grandpa to get some, but we never did. And then these cattle right here that look like a big Oreo cookie, these are a belted Galloway is the breed that they're called. But anyway, Rob Roy. So he was a businessman. He was also a cattleman. He was also a cattle rustler, which was kind of common practice in the 1700s. There was kind of just a general feeling that, well, if you couldn't control your own herd and keep people from stealing it, well, then you kind of get what you deserve if somebody steals your cattle. So Rob Roy, he ended up setting up kind of a business of sorts where he would offer protection to other cattlemen, where he would, keep their herds from being stolen by other people. If they refused his service, well, there's a decent chance that maybe Rob Roy himself would rustle his cattle. But anyway, while all of this was happening, Rob Roy was building up his own herd, and in 1711, he borrowed 1,000 pounds from a guy called the Duke of Montrose. This was a real wealthy landowner just to the north of Glasgow. And anyway, he borrowed this money so that he could buy cattle for the next year's market. And then in 1712, well, one of Rob Roy's employees ended up running off with the money. So it kind of bankrupted Rob Roy. The Duke of Montrose wanted his money back. And when Rob Roy couldn't pay the money back, well, the Duke ended up seizing his land and burning his home down and evicting his family. And this started a long feud between Rob Roy and the Duke of Montrose. He kind of kept up with his cattle rustling. As a matter of fact, he ended up kidnapping the Duke of Montrose's land manager, along with 3,000 pounds of rent money that he was carrying at the time. But anyway, this is going to be the beginning of Rob Roy. Well, maybe not the beginning, but it is going to feed into the Rob Roy legend that is going to make him kind of like the Robin Hood of Scotland. And just as I was finishing filming that up, this old boy right here came up and licked my elbow. Okay, now we have moved just down the road a little bit, and originally when I saw this thing with Rob Roy, running around this area, I wanted to try and go to his original house site where the Duke of Montrose burned down his house and destroyed it. But then when I got to looking, well, it's quite a hike to get there. Like, from what I could tell, 10 to 15 miles, and I got my family with me. So rather than subjecting them to one of my death marches to go visit a historic site, we're taking a look at another place that is connected with Rob Roy. This place right here, Finlarig Castle. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, even though this site is cool as heck, I don't know how long we're going to be here, because there are these little, like, gnats or midges around here that bite, and they are just killing me right now. So this is going to be a quick visit here to old Finlarig Castle. Now the word Finlarig is derived from Old Gaelic, which means white pass or holy pass. And if you look at the positioning of this castle, it was built in the early 1600s. On an old site that had previously existed. There had already been a settlement here. But anyway, there's like a river on one side and a lake to the other. There's kind of it's in a boggy area, hence all of the gnats that I think we're dealing with here that are eating my face up. But anyway, it makes it for an ideal defensive position. Now, again, the site was kind of built on or added to in 1609 by a guy who was named Sir Duncan Campbell. His nickname was Black Duncan. And if we look above the door here, we'll just kind of walk up here, well, you can see this coat of arms up above the door. This is not the coat of arms of Black Duncan. This is the coat of arms of King James VI of Scotland. So this was to denote that this site had the blessing and protection of the king. Black Duncan was a friend of King James VI. We've moved over to the other side of the castle ruin here. This is kind of the north side of the castle. And one thing that's interesting over here that you notice right off the bat is this pit. Now, what this most likely was a water collection pit where water would be collected from the runoff of the roof. But there's a legend that has cropped up that this was possibly a beheading pit, and that unfortunate victims would be forced to kneel here at the side of the pit, and then when their head got lopped off, well, into this hole, it would fall. Now, where this has connection with Rob Roy is after Rob Roy, started having his feud with the Duke of Montrose and was raiding his cattle and robbing his landowners or his land manager. He ended up seeking refuge here. As a matter of fact, some of the stuff that I found said that he visited this castle several times, one of which was in 1713. That would have been right when all of his antics with the Duke of Montrose would have been going on. Now, the Campbells and the MacGregors weren't exactly on friendly terms all the time, but this was a case of, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, because the Campbells weren't really friends with the Duke of Montrose either. But anyway, again, Rob Roy would have visited this site several times, and you can still see the ruins of it today. But bring some bug spray if you do, because my word, we are being just consumed alive in here. We have moved down the road to a place called Balquhidder, and this area was originally inhabited by the MacLaren clan. As a matter of fact, if you look at this old church ruin behind me, many individuals from that clan are buried within the walls of this old church ruin. But another well-known person is buried right here in this churchyard, and that is Rob Roy MacGregor. So here among all of these old graves is the final resting place of Scottish legend Rob Roy MacGregor. Now, part of Rob Roy's fame and legendary status in Scotland is due in part to the fact that he had a really good publicist. With Rob Roy, as with every folk hero and legendary figure, every time his story got told, a little bit got added to it, so he became, in some ways, a little bit of a Paul Bunyan figure. But in 1723, Daniel Defoe published a book called Highland Rogue that was based on Rob Roy and all of his exploits. And again, like I've said before, he was kind of a Robin Hood figure who stole from the rich and gave to the poor, was kind of sticking it to the man. And in 1726, due in part to Daniel Defoe's books, there was a lot of popularity that surrounded Rob Roy, and he ended up receiving a royal pardon. Now, Rob Roy would die on the 28th of December in 1734 here at Balquhidder Glen, and was buried right here in the churchyard. There's a couple different stories about his death. One is that he just died quietly as an old man. Here it says Rob Roy died 28th of December 1734, aged about 70. Now that is incorrect. He was actually 63. There's another story though that he got involved in a duel with a neighbor here. And with the Highlanders, they didn't duel to the death, they did duel to the first cut. Well, Rob Roy got the first cut, got an infection from it, and died. So that's another one of the stories. And then here next to him is his wife Helen, and then also his sons. And then if we look right here, we can see some pretty interesting markings and engravings on the stones above their grave. And here's something that I really like the most about this final resting place is this plaque with this with these words of defiance right here at the head of the grave that says MacGregor despite them. So even though at one point the name MacGregor had been outlawed, well, Rob Roy kind of stands above and in defiance of all of that. All right, well, there you go. That was just a little bit on some of the sites that are associated with the famous Scottish legend, the Robin Hood of Scotland, Rob Roy MacGregor.